Today on Q&A Mondays, we're talking about common things to know about roof drainage components.
I'll do it again. I was looking around. Sorry. This is a constant problem with me, trust me.
Welcome back to Q&A Mondays, everyone. I'm Thad Barnett from Sheffield Metals. Today we're talking about common things to know about roof drainage components. Check out the description. There'll be links to all the questions we talk about today, so check that out for sure. Today I've got John Michael Teal from Roof Drainage Components and Adam Mazzella back from Sheffield Metals. So thanks for being with me today, guys. We are here from MetalCon in Charlotte, North Carolina, so it's really great to be here. First, we're going to talk about the difference between architecturally specified roof drainage components and non-specified. So can you tell me a little bit about what that means and what the difference is?
Sure. So more and more architects are starting to actually specify gutter and downspouts in their specs. Usually what you're seeing now is there's going to be a paint finish warranty of some sort, a 20, 30, 40 year paint finish warranty. And they want all of the gutter and downspouts manufactured in the same material as either the roof panels, wall panels, edge metal, something like that. So that would be one major thing, is the finish and the paint warranty being the exact same as that of the roof and the panels. Okay. In non-specified products, people usually end up getting like a polyester pre-baked enamel type non-Kynar, SMP something finish for their products, which doesn't have the same warranty. That would be one big difference. The other one is architects are starting to specify larger and thicker materials. So 050, 040 in aluminum, you're seeing that a lot more, and 22 gauge in steel. And those products are very hard to run in gutter and downspout, especially the half round and round stuff, which is probably one of the biggest growing profiles in the architectural market when it comes to gutter and downspout. And that happens to be something Roof Drainage Components has been able to do, is the half round stuff in really thick metals, because we're geared towards that architectural market. So those would be the two, I think, main things right now, is half round and round, very thick materials in steel and aluminum, and also the paint finish matching that of the roof and the edge metal, etc.
So what happens when an architect doesn't specify a drainage component?
So usually people focus more on the roof panels and wall panels, and then when the gutter and downspout come around, and either the roofing contractor is the one who's going to be supplying those, they'll go to their distributor, manufacturer, whoever, and you might get a similar colored gutter and downspout that isn't matching the rest of the metal on the building. It also can be a lesser quality product. It's going to be thinner usually, and the paint doesn't have typically the Kynar paint finish is not what they go with, because it's more expensive. So they usually just go for the budget option, which is cheaper and lower quality.
Okay.
Well, and from what we see in our perspective, it's not so much the cheaper thing like that. It's just that path of least resistance.
Yes.
The architect has a look he has in mind. He wants a half round. And what's available generally is that. And that's, a big reason for our partnership, is your guys' ability to match that with our metal roofing systems, as well as manufacture a high-end, more rigid type system at a variety of sizes and finishes and substrates.
Yeah, and that's a good point. So how do you work with metal manufacturers, roof manufacturers? What's that relationship kind of like?
Yeah, so in this case, this would be, Sheffield's a good example. When contractors or companies have Sheffield's roof panels on their building, and they need they need gutter and downspout to match those roof panels, they'll call, typically they might call Sheffield and ask, hey, can you get us half round gutter and round downspout in the same color, et cetera, and let's say roof drainage doesn't exist, they'd have a hard time finding that. But now it's kind of like, we buy from Sheffield, we buy directly from them, and we can get your flat sheets and coils. So we send, if they're running a seamless gutter on the job site, we can send coil, gutter accessories, and all the downspout,
Okay, yeah.
and all of Sheffield's material. So it's
So you manufacture the components from Sheffield's
Yeah.
materials?
Yeah.
And just to be clear, one of the things we liked about our partnership was they work with all different metal roof manufacturers, and a lot of Sheffield Metals competitors, and that's good because I think that advances the metal roofing and architectural metals world. With their capabilities, people aren't just stuck with one metal or one finish. They do a variety of stuff, and they do it at a high level.
Yeah, and it really is a true partnership, working back and forth. It's not just purchasing or supplying.
Yeah.
It's a true partnership.
Yeah, and just to touch on what you said a second ago, a lot of people think that when we say, yeah, we can do this in Sheffield medium bronze, they think that it's just a color that is a match or it looks similar, but it's actually like we actually buy that, and that's pretty key, pretty key component
For
as well.
sure.
Yeah.
Yep. Why is having a sole source of roof drainage components, beneficial?
Yeah. I think it goes back to sort of like you were saying a second ago, path of least resistance, and ease of ordering, peace of mind. When you're doing these projects, gutter and downspout is typically the more tedious / annoying part of the building. It's at the very end. It's the last product that goes on. It's very hard to estimate and do a takeoff on because a lot of things have to be field verified.
Yeah.
And it just gets pushed and pushed and pushed typically. And then it's usually a fire drill at the very end of a project to get it all together. What we do is, that's all we focus on. So it's not a side sort of last minute thing for us. It's our main thing. So being able to order, everything related to gutter and downspout from one place that doesn't have any sort of location barriers is super helpful. We ship, everywhere in the country. We ship internationally. So even people that run, like I said earlier, seamless gutter on a job site, we can still supply the coil and accessories and anything else they need all in one. So I would say that's probably the main pro to that, to having that go-to kind of source.
Yeah, and that's really been one of the big benefits is they can specialize in manufacturing things that are very custom. So, if an end user picks a particular gutter that their contractor can manufacture, but wants a really high-end or special downspout that can't be found elsewhere. One of the things that really impressed me was you guys can do a half round with a Pittsburgh seam in an 040, maybe even an
063. We can go
063. And that might not mean anything to you, but I was blown away by seeing somebody that can do a round downspout, 063 Pittsburgh seam. The variety of sizes they can do with a half round gutter. It just the possibilities really are endless. Whether you're going high-end commercial or really high-end ornamental, whether it's copper, zinc, painted finishes.
So it does include specialty metals too, and upper-end premium metals. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yep. We do stainless steel. We do 304, 316 polish. It really usually when people ask if we can, what we can do, I usually ask them what they need because there's just, if we haven't done it before, then we're gonna try it too.
Yeah.
So there's a lot there for sure.
Yeah.
So, in your experience, what are some common mistakes that you've kind of seen through the whole process, from estimating all the way to installing?
Yeah. So the first thing would be, estimating gutter and downspout and all the accessories is tedious because a lot of things have to be field verified. So you can estimate the edge metal or the roof panels pretty well from a plan drawing or something like that, and get a good quantity. For gutter and downspout, a lot of things come into play when the building is actually built that you can't account for in a takeoff. So what we see a lot of is the accessory items like elbows and offsets and even like hanger spacing is usually way off in the estimating side of things. So when when things are quoted and then you get a bid or you win the job, you might find that either you've shorted yourself or you haven't factored in enough for your budget. But then it kind of carries all the way through because if you, on the order side of gutter and downspout products, you always need to factor in more of a margin of error in your quantities than you would for other products on the building, mainly because there's so many unknowns with gutter and downspout, and they're not really a flexible or super, flexible product. For example, I'll just give you some real examples with elbows. A lot of people don't factor in the eave distance.
Okay.
So when you go down from the gutter and in towards the wall, sometimes you need 2 elbows, and sometimes you need 2 elbows and a piece of downspout in between them.
Yeah.
But we offer like a one-piece offset that can kind of handle that in one component. Things like that, or ledges on a building, or a internal drainage system that's a foot away from the building. Just things like that are small and tedious, but you can't really get around them unless you order either extra components or factor in a high margin of error on your quantities when you're doing takeoffs. A lot of times we get people in a fire drill ordering just a couple pieces at a time because they hadn't factored those in on the front end. And I guess the last common one would be gutter and downspout. It's just usually kind of the forgotten product when it comes to budgeting for the project, because it's last minute and it's pretty tedious, like I said earlier. So people don't factor in if you're budgeting 050 gutter and downspout.
Yeah.
That's an expensive product. And you have to actually go, quote that, and you can't just kind of use random numbers to price it.
Okay.
We've seen that kind of cause issues before as well.
For information on how to access roof drainage components in Sheffield Metals colors, you can check out a link below. That's a page on our website, and you'll also find takeoff sheets on there that are pretty intuitive and self-explanatory on how to get a quote and how to request the specific items you need that we covered in this video.
Well, thanks for joining us. I think we talked about a lot of good information. And again, check out that link in the description for more information. Comment below with any questions that you have. We'd love to continue answering them, and any further information on this topic as well. Subscribe to the Metal Roofing channel, and we'll catch you next time.